Welcome to Mindblow, the ultimate destination for jaw-dropping content that will surprise, inspire, and entertain you every step of the way. If you love discovering the unexpected, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share with your friends to keep the excitement going. Your support helps us keep blowing minds and creating content you'll never forget. So buckle up and get ready, because this is just the beginning. The South China Sea shimmered under the relentless tropical sun, its turquoise waters stretching endlessly toward the horizon, a breathtaking expanse that belied the tension simmering just beneath the surface. But beneath the gentle waves, tension crackled like static in the humid air, an invisible current running through the calm. A U.S. Navy carrier strike group led by the formidable USS Gerald R. Ford cut through the waters on what was officially a routine mission, asserting the right of all nations to sail freely in international waters, a principle at the heart of global maritime law. Suddenly, the horizon darkened as gray silhouettes emerged, Chinese warships, multiplying by the minute, their numbers swelling with each passing moment. 24 vessels, sleek destroyers and agile frigates, moved with precision, forming a deliberate ring around the American fleet, a show of force that was impossible to ignore. The message was unmistakable: you are surrounded, you are not welcome here. The intent was clear, and the challenge was direct. In an instant, the vast open ocean had become a cage, the American ships isolated in a sea that now felt impossibly small. Every sailor aboard sensed the gravity of the moment. This was no drill, no exercise. The tension was real, and the stakes were higher than ever. A single misstep, a misunderstood signal, could ignite a global crisis that would ripple far beyond these waters. The radio crackled with static, but silence hung heavy on the bridge. Two superpowers locked in a silent, high-stakes standoff, each waiting for the other to make a move. The USS Ford, bristling with advanced aircraft and protected by a screen of powerful escorts, was outnumbered, but not outmatched. Its presence alone, a statement of resolve. Naval warfare is about more than firepower. It's about nerve, positioning, and the unspoken rules of engagement that keep disaster at bay. The Chinese strategy was clear: squeeze, intimidate, and force the Americans to turn back, conceding the contested waters to Beijing's growing influence. The standoff had begun, and the world was watching. News outlets flashed urgent updates, analysts debated outcomes, and governments braced for the unknown. On both sides, crews stood ready at battle stations, hands poised over controls, knowing that every second could bring a life-altering decision. The calm, glassy sea masked a high-stakes drama, the surface tranquility hiding the storm of nerves and calculations below. The American fleet held its ground, refusing to yield an inch, their formation tight and their resolve unshaken. The Chinese ships tightened their formation, inching closer in a coordinated display of discipline and intent, testing the Americans' resolve with every maneuver. The silence was a warning: one wrong move, one miscalculation could change everything in an instant. The USS Ford's captain scanned the horizon, calculating every possibility, weighing risk against duty, knowing the world was watching his every move. The Chinese commanders watched for any sign of weakness, ready to exploit the smallest hesitation, their eyes fixed on the American ships. The world's most powerful navies were locked in a dangerous dance, each maneuver scrutinized, each signal analyzed for intent. The rules were unspoken, but the consequences were clear. Misjudgment here could echo across continents. The ocean, once a symbol of freedom and open passage, was now a battleground for influence, a stage for the world's great powers to assert their will. The standoff was more than a test of strength. It was a test of will, of discipline, and of the ability to hold the line under unimaginable pressure. The first move, if it came, would define not just the outcome of this encounter, but the future of the entire region. The world held its breath, waiting to see who would blink first and what the cost would be. Why the South China Sea? It's a global artery. 1/3 of all shipping, trillions in trade, pass through these waters. Beneath the waves lie vast reserves of oil and gas, fueling fierce competition. China's sweeping 9-line claim clashes with the rights of Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and others. Artificial islands, military outposts, and rejected international rulings have turned the sea into a flashpoint. This is a struggle of history versus law, power versus principle. The U.S. Navy's mission here is clear: uphold international law and freedom of navigation. Freedom of navigation operations challenge excessive claims, sending a message: these are international waters. U.S. alliances with the Philippines, Japan, and others act as a deterrent, signaling that aggression could draw in American power. Joint exercises and support for regional navies build a network committed to a free Indo-Pacific. The carrier strike group is more than muscle, it's a symbol of American resolve. The US aims to maintain balance, not dominance, but sees China's actions as a direct challenge. The stakes, the future of the Pacific Order. China's navy has exploded in size and sophistication, now the world's largest by ship count. This transformation is strategic, protecting sea lanes, securing resources, and projecting power. Advanced destroyers, submarines, and carriers are part of an anti-access strategy. Make US operations near China risky. The South China Sea is a proving ground. Coast Guard harassment, naval shadowing, and island fortresses enforce Beijing's claims. The encirclement of the US fleet was a calculated show of strength. The message: America is no longer alone in these waters. The standoff turned tense with a chilling radio call. U.S. Navy warship, this is the Chinese Navy. You are entering Chinese waters. Alter your course. The message crackled through the static, echoing across the bridge and raising the stakes in an already volatile situation. Every eye on the American bridge turned to the radio, knowing that a single word could tip the balance. The American reply was calm and measured. We are conducting lawful operations in international waters. The officer's voice betrayed no emotion, but the tension in the air was unmistakable. The crew stood ready, each person at their station prepared for whatever might come next. The exchange repeated, each side staking its claim, neither willing to back down. The radio became a battleground of words, each message a test of resolve and nerve. Suddenly, a Chinese destroyer cut dangerously close to the USS Mustin, forcing evasive action, a high-risk move meant to intimidate and provoke a response. The ships came within a stone's throw of disaster, the ocean churning in their wake. On the American bridge, discipline held. Tension was razor-sharp, every officer hyper-aware of their role. Orders were given in hushed tones, eyes fixed on screens and the horizon. The carrier's air wing was readied, surveillance planes tracked every move, relaying real-time intelligence back to command. The hum of activity on the flight deck was a reminder of the power waiting just out of sight. The Americans signaled, surrounded on the surface but dominant in the air. Their aircraft circled overhead, a silent warning that the balance of power could shift in an instant. For hours, Chinese ships shadowed the fleet, testing reactions, coming within hundreds of yards. Every maneuver was scrutinized, every approach a potential flashpoint. The US formation held steady, refusing to be bullied. Their ships moved as one, a wall of steel and resolve against the pressure. Every maneuver was a message, resolve, not aggression. The crews communicated through silent signals and practiced drills, determined to avoid escalation but ready for anything. The world watched, unaware how close it was to disaster. News outlets flashed urgent updates, but only those on the bridges truly understood the stakes. The crew's professionalism was the only thing preventing escalation. Years of training and discipline held the line, even as nerves frayed. The standoff was a chess match, each move calculated, every decision weighed for its consequences. One wrong move could change the course of history. The risk of miscalculation was ever present. A single misunderstanding, a moment's hesitation, could ignite a conflict no one wanted. The American and Chinese navies stared each other down, neither willing to blink. Pride and national interest hung in the balance, the tension almost unbearable. The tension was palpable, the outcome uncertain. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the standoff showed no sign of ending. The standoff dragged on hour after hour. Time seemed to slow, every minute stretching nerves to the breaking point. The world waited for the next move, holding its breath as history unfolded in real time, knowing that peace and conflict hung by the thinnest of threads. News of the standoff spread fast, shaking capitals worldwide. In Washington, urgent meetings and calls for de-escalation. In Beijing, defiant statements and praise for the Navy. U.S. allies like Japan and Australia voiced support for freedom of navigation, while regional nations urged restraint. Europe and the UN called for peace and respect for international law. Analysts debated escalation or calculated signaling. All agreed, the risk of miscalculation was dangerously high. The incident exposed the fragility of maritime rules. The world was reminded US-China rivalry is no longer theoretical. The South China Sea had become the front line of global competition. What keeps warships from firing? International law and strict protocols. The UN Convention on the Law of the Sea defines rights and boundaries, but interpretations differ, especially between the US and China. Agreements like the Code for Unplanned Encounters at Sea set safety rules and communication standards. Each navy operates under strict rules of engagement. Force is a last resort. The real safeguard is discipline. One mistake could trigger disaster. The standoff was a test of these guardrails. The risk of miscalculation is always present. In the end, professionalism kept the peace. After 12 tense and uncertain hours, the Chinese ships finally withdrew, ending a standoff that had the world holding its breath. The tension in the air was palpable, as both sides waited to see who would make the first move. No shots were fired, and no damage was done. The confrontation ended without violence, but the sense of relief was mixed with lingering anxiety. Both sides quickly claimed success, eager to show strength to their people and the world. Yet beneath the surface, the region was left more unstable and unpredictable than before. The scale of China's response was unprecedented, a clear warning that the balance of power in the Pacific is shifting and that new realities are taking shape. The US and its allies took careful note, accelerating security talks, reviewing strategies, and demanding better communication to avoid future miscalculations. The incident quickly became a case study in modern brinkmanship, showing how close the world can come to conflict in a matter of hours. The underlying disputes remain unresolved. The next crisis could be just over the horizon, waiting for a spark. The South China Sea is now a test of the global order. Will it be ruled by law, or by might and intimidation? The need for dialogue, restraint, and mutual understanding has never been greater, as the world watches and hopes for peace. For now, the sea is calm, but beneath the surface the currents of history are shifting, and the stakes are higher than ever. The world must stay vigilant. The future of peace and stability may well be decided in these contested waters, where every decision echoes far beyond the horizon.